Phil Klokis and Chip Pierpont, you guys are here from GSA. Chip, you're the Director of Facilities Operations and Technologies. Obviously, Phil, you're the CIO. We had a great conversation last year. Let me ask you real quickly, between 2017 and 2018, what are the differences you're already seeing?
Yeah, one of the big changes between last year and this year was the federal law that got passed called the Technology Modernization Fund. And this is significant because in many ways, but as a federal government, we spend pretty close to $80 billion a year on IT.
Yeah.
$80 billion on IT. The majority of that is spent on maintaining our legacy systems. We call that operations and maintenance. So a very small slice of that is on development, modernization, and enhancement of our legacy environment. And that's where we really need the investment. But many federal agencies don't have the seed money to start that investment because of the big investment in our legacy portfolio. So Congress gave us, the federal government, about $100 million, which, by the way, GSA is managing on behalf of the rest of the federal government, and you have to bid for that money. So it's like seed money to do development, modernization, and enhancements of your legacy environment. So it's pretty cool that GSA was selected to be the PMO, the Program Management Office, and we're excited. We put 2 proposals in. They're still being evaluated. We think we have a good shot at one of them, so we're excited.
Talk to me, Phil, about some of these innovations that you're hoping to bring to the market.
Yeah. I think the innovations are centering around, there's a lot of work and a lot of around data. We have a program at GSA called D2D, Data to Decisions. And the concept here is to leverage our source systems of record, extract the data into one big data warehouse, and turn that data into information. And that information will then be used to make business decisions to improve the operations of the public building services, which I support.
Chip, how would you, in operations, use that data, and how are you using that data in an innovative way?
Well, we're finding that having that data and then making that data actionable is key for us to reduce our op costs and have an effective reduction in our EUI, or energy use. And so, as Phil mentioned, it's not so much just the collecting of the data, which we're fairly effective with our FDD program and our smart metering program, but it's really getting it to one central location, because where we can get all that data and all that information in one location allows us to slice and dice it, which makes, again, the data more actionable, because you can have all the data in the world. If you're not able to actually manipulate that data to help your property operators leverage it to make the right decisions, then you're really defeating the purpose.
We're talking today a lot about blockchain. We're talking about artificial intelligence. How is GSA incorporating those themes into what you do?
Yeah, the artificial intelligence is what we're just now starting to break through. We have massive amount of data. Chip can speak to the amount of data that we collect just in his program area alone. And then you overlay that with the other 4 business lines and the rest of the 4 business lines within PBS and the rest of the federal government. Artificial intelligence is really going to be, I think, the next gen of where we're going to focus on to do predictive analysis, to determine when a particular asset needs maintenance and when it doesn't need maintenance, when we can delay it. And the ultimate advantage to the taxpayer is going to be more efficiencies, more cost effectiveness in terms of how we run our buildings.
Chip, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think Phil hit the nail on the head. I think we've seen progressively the number of FTE, or the number of the employees we have in GSA, continues to go down. Luckily, it's been through attrition, but as we continue to have a reduction in force, we find that our workload is not decreasing at all. The amount of square footage has stayed constant or gone up, number of contracts remains steady. So we see that technology, the innovation, the AI is things that we must leverage. We must leverage technology to offset the fewer people per square foot that we're using to manage our space.
One of the other things we're talking a lot about today is robotic automation. Now, your holdings are so vast that one could only imagine if there was a way to leverage robotic automation for what you do, it would really come into quite useful. At the same time, you are a government agency.
Right.
There can be no mistakes, really. So how do you look at that? What are some of the other technologies that you're really excited to start to incorporate?
Robotics is actually one of the areas that's a little further on than our artificial intelligence area, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
We have 3 individual pilots that are actually currently working right now within GSA. A lot of it on our financial transactions, right? I mean, you get thousands and tens of thousands of invoices coming in from the federal government,
sure,
from our providers,
yeah,
and automating that process through these robots is going to really save on a workforce efficiency, right? And making sure that it's right, but it's in pilot mode. It's not real yet, but we're getting closer.
And what about from a operation standpoint, even just the cleaning? Some of the shopping centers that we're talking to, Australia and others, are literally using robots to clean the floors and things like that. Do we see that happening yet, or is it not ready quite yet for prime time as far as GSA?
We certainly see that's an opportunity, and again, with our type of space that we have the opportunity to leverage that type of thing. We haven't actually set that up for pilot yet, but that is definitely something that we're considering. You know, the classic notion that if it can be repeated, it can be replaced.
Sure.
And so that's really what we're looking at. So, you know, for example, the Roombas and the iRobots, the vacuuming, you can imagine at 400 million square feet that we operate, you know, if you can start, you know, automating through robotics any type of cleaning, you know, or preventative maintenance, you know,
yeah,
you're talking about a very scalable savings.
As we begin to wrap up, tell me your vision for the next 3 years. Where are you taking GSA as it pertains to innovation? What's got you excited for what you've got coming up?
Yeah, I think there's several things. One, we're going to leverage the technology fund as much as we possibly can.
Sure.
So we're going to throw our hat in the ring, because it's not a guaranteed money. You have to bid for it.
Right.
And it has to be, you have to show, demonstrate results. So that's going to be one area that we're going to do, and we're going to try to drive that innovation. We'll continue to work with data, as I mentioned, in artificial intelligence, and I think one of the bigger areas is we're not going to do a big bang approach. We're here in Vegas, not to say we're doing this, we're going to make small bets.
Okay.
We're going to make small bets, we're going to try things. If they fail, so be it, they fail. But at least it'll be self-contained or contained, and it'll be, you know, manageable. So it's a way to manage our risk. So we'll make small bets, and we'll continue to move the ball forward.
Fantastic. Chip.
Yeah, and as Phil mentioned, our administration at GSA currently is very pro technology. It's really leveraging the technology to the great extent possible. Also, not to be afraid to go out there and test those new technologies. So again, the support from the top down is really helping us kind of step out there and get some stuff done. The other thing I'll end on is we will continue to work through our emerging technologies. GSA has a program annually that we set up to encourage startups to present their technology to GSA, and we do test beds and run that through a very formalized process. We test bed it in our buildings to validate the savings and then try to implement it into the portfolio. So we're very active in a formalized way in trying to support technologies and get them into our federal properties for the benefit of the commercial sector. So we'll continue to do that as well.
You know, Jerry, I think it also fosters a learning organization that we have at GSA. It's really a cool agency, and Chip touched on it, and I think it's worth noting there's a culture of learning and a culture to accept some failures. So
right.
Sometimes you have to fail to succeed, and you don't want to do it too often, believe it or not, you know, but the fact that we have a facilities guy and an IT guy collaborating, I think, goes to show you the type of culture that we have.
Yeah.
We want to embed ourselves in the business. It's not my problem, it's not Chip's problem, it's our problem.
Yeah.
And that's the culture that we want to foster at GSA.
Thank you so much for running our country's real estate so well and with such a spirit of fun and innovation. Chip,
Great, Jerry,
Phil,
thanks.
sorry, but Chip,
bet.
thank you very
It's a
much.
pleasure.
Cheers, guys. Thank
See you next year.
See you next year.
All right, take care.